All right. You've
Yeah.
been hyping me up all day here. I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa, blushing.
because part of it is I never would have been on Book Talk if it wasn't for your book.
It's so crazy.
I just now
That is so crazy.
I used to have a different account where just look at TikToks. I wasn't making or
It's
planning on making
crazy.
any content at all. And
Yeah.
I had gone away from it for a while. And in that time, I think TikTok did a whole thing of trying to do everybody's age to make sure that everybody was thinking. I missed it because I didn't look at that stuff. So I couldn't get back into the account, which is fine. Because they're like, you need to confirm your age. So I did. I sent them all the stuff, and they're like, we still can't confirm that you're over 13. I'm like, I just sent you my driver's license. What are you talking
Oh my
about?
God.
Didn't care.
That
So
is funny.
this new
That's
account.
so, that's crazy because, a lot of people in our art group, I think, kind of got into being like sort of little social media influencers from, you know, just
Was your bingo
us
game?
doing our thing,
I needed to
right?
do bingo. So
Bingo, yeah. I guess
the
that
only
wasn't
thing
even my idea.
was make a TikTok video. So I
Wow. So
video.
that was it.
It was for this
I think,
book, and then it took me a couple months to actually
well,
do other
look at you
stuff.
now, man. And I want to tell you before we get onto me that you have been doing like an amazing job. I am, like we've only, messaged each other about like problems with my arc and things like that. And I already respected you. I thought this one's got a head on her shoulders, like I got that in my brain. But I mean, you have been just so amazing, and listening to you, I think you should have your own TikTok talk show because you are just fantastic.
Well,
Like I'm so impressed with you. I just want you to know
thank you
it's
so
been
much.
delightful watching you.
I definitely
I feel for you. I have coffee because I think I'm just catching your exhaustion, so I have to have coffee now. But
I've been working on the one because I don't drink caffeine. I'm finally getting to the end of that one can of soda that I started how many hours
right,
ago.
well, you'll sleep for a few days.
Yeah, but it's been really fun. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I don't mind going onto TikTok live, but I prefer talking to people.
Hey, who's yaying me over there?
Um,
TikTok shop tyrant. Who are you? TikTok shop tyrant.
they just
I
follow me.
don't think I know you. I see Marie Lestrange. She is one of our peeps.
Oh, they said yay Lisa, so somebody knows you. TikTok top shy.
I don't know. People, I have to tell you, when I go live on these things, random people show up because I'm a professor
Yeah.
and I've been teaching for like almost 30 years. So I have students that are like older than you. And they just show up sometimes like, hi, professor. I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah,
this is
no,
awkward.
that's
So I don't know who that is, but I don't think that's a student. But Marie Lestrange is one of my besties, one of my writing besties. She's incredible. If she was paying attention, she could have been interviewed by you, but she was just too busy, Thanksgiving and everything. Next time, Marie.
I can't. I think Ashley, are you in here by chance? I'm just trying to see. It won't let me because I'm in a dual live. It doesn't allow me to do um
Yeah, I
add
know.
moderator. But because I was trying to add Vanessa as a moderator, I'll do it later. But if anybody gets out of pocket, will she'll let me know and um see. Oh wait, let's see. Allow comments. No, it won't. It won't allow me to do it. So it's all good. But she'll let me know if things get out of pocket. We will. I will.
Well, you've been shouting me out all day, so I'm shouting you out. I do that. That's how I am. I'm a shouter outer
Well,
of
thank
everything. I don't like shouting at myself, so I'll just shout out, right, Marie? I don't like shouting out even though I'm very loud. I'm just not quiet, but there it is.
That's all good.
Oh, and guess what I have? Wait a minute, wait for it. I don't have a print of it, but look at
Oh,
it.
nice.
Baby.
Deep and Savage, which
I
is the
took
next
two.
book, and they'll all look very good next to each other. This is the first book in the series, and we're going to first start with this one because I want you to tell them
And
what.
then this one too.
Oh, and that's Promises. Yes, that's the companion.
Yeah.
We're calling it.
And before we
But
talk about it, I just want to put one thing out there that I, believe it or not, at this late hour, day, time, this book is releasing on December 12th, but I am still signing up ARC readers for all 3 books. I mean, you'll have to read really fast because you could skip the novella. You don't really need that to read book 2. But I am still, and I could try to message you the link. I don't know how that would work. I could stick it in the comments or something if people. I have a form. You know, people could comment there, and if they're interested, you could just let me know, and I'll send them the link. Okay, so ready? Go ahead.
Yes, if you are interested by the end, if you want to ARC read the book, you would, because the second book, in order to understand it, you would have to read the first one. You can't. It's
No idea.
so you'd have to read this one and get the other one. So if you, so yeah, okay. So Shay,
Tomorrow, Corinne, tomorrow I'm supposedly sending it out.
exactly. So we don't have a form yet, Shay, but I will get your name over.
Yeah, I have a form, and I will. I mean, I could probably stick it in the comment, Corinne. I don't know. I have it geared up. Let me see if it'll work. If I could copy and paste it in the comment, I will try. But in the meantime, ask me questions. I'll multitask.
Yeah, it probably won't link it over. That's the problem with TikTok, is that you can't.
Oh yeah. So it's, you know what? It's better. They could just follow me, and I could DM it, or they could just ask you, and you could DM it to them. However, you'll let me know.
And follow Lisa, and you can.
We have many ways of connecting, you and I.
Exactly.
Many places.
So why don't you start off by just giving a short overview of what the book is about, and then first do this one, because then we'll lead into what the second one is about.
Well, I'm going to do like my buddies. I'm just going to read the back cover copy because, like my friends, we're all very articulate, but when we have to start like doing elevator pitches for our books, I become a blithering idiot. So I'm just going to read this. Okay, so I call it a secret garden retelling like no other. That's because it's barely a retelling. It's kind of like, what's that one, Splintered or something?
I say it pays homage to.
Yeah. What's that book, Splintered, that also is like based on Alice in Wonderland? It's kind of like takes the original story and goes, you know. So that's what this does. I mean, it is really rather wild. It is strange and wild. So the secret garden retelling like no other, shattered by the death of her secret crush. Science geek Rosalie ditches her summer study abroad to fulfill his dying wish, return to his birthplace, an uncharted island off the coast of Maine, and work to save its unique ecosystem from the ravages of climate change. But the flora and fauna she finds defies every scientific principle Rosalie has ever studied. There's a vanishing garden, a rare plant with healing powers and a mind of its own, and a person who's turned themselves into a tree. And there's Liam, the beautiful, evasive island boy with an uncanny green thumb. Desperate to unravel the island's mysteries, Rosalie finds herself increasingly drawn to the enigmatic Liam. As their passion grows and her connection to the island deepens, what she discovers may upend her world, destroy what's left of her fractured family, and break her heart, because the ancient evil that haunts this island is the reason her family kept her away in the first place. And it's been waiting for her. So, I guess, does that give a good sense of it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It draws you right in.
Good.
Of course, you know, they need, without.
I left out some plot points. It's pretty intricate.
It is. There's a lot. I mean, it's definitely a book that you need to pay attention to as you're reading. Because to remember the different things. This is a great book, and I wasn't into it when I had read it, but have since kind of gotten more used to it. People who journal when they do books, this would be a great book to journal alongside of, just to keep the things. And that's why, like when you talk about merch, I so want a journal with a disappearing ink pen, you know, like the ink, disappearing ink. To write in the journal. I think it would be great.
We'll chat.
Once you read the book, you'll understand why.
I'm open to all kinds of suggestions. As you know, I made all kinds of fun things for you guys. I still have many of them left. So, I mean, I would say, if anybody buys the hardcover and lets Corinne know, you give her your address, and I have some fun little things left, bookmarks and stickers and things that I would send you. So
So where is, and obviously we don't want to, I was going to show, but I think I have it downstairs.
oh, you know what? Let me go get some of my, you probably have the globe. I don't have them. I sent them all away. And the keychain. Do you have a keychain?
I have. That's what I was just looking for.
Oh, I think I have one somewhere.
Which is, I think it's in my purse, but it's
all right, well, let's talk about the book, and then I could find all the baubles somehow.
Yeah, she has a bunch of different stuff. This local artist made this keychain, which is based off of the cover.
Right. I have one hanging on my very obnoxious keychain of many things, but I just keep this on there.
Oh, cute. Yeah, I have.
Yeah. And she made these earrings too.
Oh, cute. That's awesome. So
And
yes, she does have a lot of nice, cute merch.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we'll talk about other things that I would want. But so now, without giving spoilers, which I know it's hard when you have a sequel and or the thing is, what is the second book now about? Where it kind of takes off from here?
Well, okay. So, all right. So yeah, it's hard to say too much without spoilers.
I'll frame it. Does it continue right after this? Is there a time jump? How does it begin?
It's like 3 months later. So it ends basically with this insane cataclysm on the island, involving all the characters and such. And a lot of secrets are revealed, very unexpected, I hope. I try to be as unpredictable as possible. So that's why I can't say too much. And this is why Corinne has repeated many times, don't read the prequel before you read this, because you give things away.
I'll explain to people, because she was writing a graphic she wrote this prequel, which I had beta read. And then I said, you need to have on there, because she had this in the middle, which of course will stand out. And I said, you can't read the prequel first. And other people were like, well, why? And I'm like, because you won't get absorbed into the story if you read about the character. It gives great background of the character, but you need to read about him first through here to make it come alive. It's
kind of like a behind the scenes kind of situation where you meet this character, and this isn't a spoiler. I could give this because it's on the back cover. Rosalie has this longtime crush. Rosalie is this rich girl. And it was funny. I was listening when you were talking to Emily and Christy, my besties. Are you here, guys? Christy's here.
You're here.
I don't know. Emily.
Well, at least Christy's here. Yes, I know that.
I don't know. Marie was here, and I don't know if Emily came. She probably passed out somewhere because she's always doing 500 things at one time. Like, I wanted to tell you when she types this, how she types. You know that cat meme?
Yes.
It's like that.
She's still here, so don't forget Marie. She's still here.
Anyway, I would not be a writer at this point if not for Emily calling. I have to tell you that. I have to say that. Anyway, so the Promise, Bright and Fragile, it's about this boy, Tyler, who was Rosalie's crush. And the background is that Rosalie is this sort of very sheltered, rich science girl. And what I was saying, I know I'm getting off topic here, is that I tend to write characters that are the opposite of me as well. Like, I am so not a science person. I am a flaky artist. Like, I was good in science, but as soon as the math came in, I was like, done. Goodbye. So, like, of course, I want to write about somebody that's not like me because it's interesting. So she is in love with she thinks she's in love with this boy, and then he is in love with her. And so he's about to tell her this, and he takes her out of this boat. They sneak out there when the mother, against the mother's wishes, and something awful happens. This terrible, ocean freak thing happens, and he dies. So I basically kill this boy in the first chapter of Island, and people are like, what is wrong with you? You are evil. How could you kill him? So I had a lot of that, and I thought, poor Tyler, I kind of owe him something. So I wrote his story of what the heck happened to him before, he got killed. And I'm not going to say too much, but it gives some insight, right? Yeah. And it also features this bad guy named Randy who everybody loves to hate. And it's been suggested to me by Tiffany Murphy, one of our people, and Amanda Curry, another one of our people, that I need to create I hate Randy t-shirts. So I'll put that on my list. So anyway, what you wanted to know, where do we pick up with the sequel? Well, she ends up on this island because of Tyler, because he told her we'll go there. And that's the reason she feels that she's responsible for him dying, because she was just being, a wuss, and she wouldn't go with him. And she feels to blame. But when she gets on this island, it's like everything's topsy-turvy. And then a whole series of events happen. So she finds out she's a descendant of this kind of, this is a spoiler, but I don't know how to say it otherwise, okay? Let's put it this way. She ends up at a magical school, okay? So it changes a lot, because Island was this sort of weird, swampy island mystique, mystery. And this starts out as like dark academia on a cold, isolated island in the Institute, which you might ring a bell to you.
Is it on Spain or not?
What? No, it's not. Remember that there were all these islands? There was like
yes.
Island, and weird little islands. Well, this is an island called Snag Island. I think it's a real thing. I have done very strange things where I sometimes make things up and I sometimes find things. And there is something. So anyway, it's on this, I think it's off the coast of Greenland. So it's just a very cold, forbidding place. And that's where it starts. And a whole bunch of weird stuff happens. And she ends up getting kidnapped. And goes on a very bizarre adventure. And basically the whole book is about saving the boy, saving Liam. A lot of it has to do with saving Liam, but Liam makes a lot of appearances. And believe it or not, so does Tyler. And you might wonder, he's dead. But when does that ever stop me? The character's dead, so what?
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so it's different. It's kind of almost like heisty. It's got a heist in it. It's got a lot of adventure. It's almost got like steampunk elements in it. Okay. It's different. So I hope people aren't like, what did you do? Well, no, what did you just write here?
I like dark academia a lot, so that
it's off. Like I'm a real discovery writer. So the story just kind of took me on this ride where it needed to go. I mean, this was envisioned as a trilogy, but it's actually going to end up being 4 books, Corinne, because this book ended up being like so huge that I had to split it.
Which is
so it's going to be a much thinner book than Island, because it's like it had a break at a place where it made sense of the story. So it's actually going to end up like a 4-book series.
But that's good. I like that. It is very fast-paced, yes. My question is, how did you come to write about a place that you referred to that you never had been to?
Oh my!
You've never been to Maine before. I mean, now
it's this summer. I finally
she finally got
didn't meet my expectations.
But she wrote this book about an island off of Maine and like all this.
Wow.
How did you come to do? Was it just a lot of research that you did, or photos, or how did you come about that?
Well, Corinne, I know you're an island dweller, an ocean dweller. You live on Cape Cod.
Yep.
And I grew up on Long Island.
Yep.
Always near the water,
yep.
Right? And there's a lot of places way out on Long Island. There's Fire Island. There's Shelter Island. There's Block Island. And Nantucket Island, which is off the coast of Mexico. And these places always held a certain magic for me, So I would say that Saltaine is based on them. And then to my shock, when Emily Collin and I went to Maine, to my shock, I did not like Maine because it's full of maniacs. It is like too busy. because I think people don't want to go to Cape Cod because it's too expensive, so they go there. So Emily and I went there during the peak season, and we're like, we did not come here for this. We just didn't want. It was like, no, no people, no, too many people. So, but it's beautiful if you could get to the coast. We went to Kennebunkport, and it was like big mistake. So the Maine of my dreams wasn't exactly the Maine that I found, but I went on these walks along the water, and I took a lot of pictures. I was like, Emily, it's Saltaine, look. So it really did. It looked like it. I didn't get a chance to go on an island. I didn't get to go up to Acadia. If I had more time, I would have. But it really, I guess because they're, and I've been to Cape Cod as well. So all of that stuff, I guess, just lodged somewhere in my brain.
And it's fine. It wasn't like you went like out of pocket or anything like that with what you were saying. But that was my biggest surprise after, when you're like, yep, full disclosure, never been to Maine. I was like, wait, what? But it makes sense, growing up on Long Island and going out and stuff like that. And
it's just in my blood, so to speak, And the Secret Garden was too. Growing up, it was like really a big thing with me. So you might be very surprised to know when I started writing this book.
Oh, when you were young?
No, I started writing this book in 2013.
Oh, wow. So it took...
It's got a whole story behind it.
Okay. All right. So
ask me other questions and we could circle back, because
That's okay.
I have more stories. I could keep you here all night with my publishing stories, and I'll just bore you to sleep. So you ask me the questions.
I will ask you how this kind of jumps into another part of it. How, only because of things that people have asked. She is very passionate. How do you handle criticism?
That's a nice way of saying she's kind of hyper. Yeah, I'm from New York. Just I'll tone myself.
It gives me a glimpse of my upbringing, because I think I'm from Long Island.
Right. Okay. Where? Which town?
From Levittown.
Oh God, Lindenhurst.
But then, okay, and then I went to college at Fordham Lincoln Center. So.
Wow, Fordham, huh? And I teach at Bronx Community College, which is right up the road. So you get my energy, right?
I do get your energy.
You want to calm yourself down a bit, but I try. It doesn't work.
Well, we end up much laid back once we move up. I always wanted to not live in New York. I loved the proximity to the city and being that part. But I wanted to move to the Cape since I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
But
I love Long Island so much that I escaped to the Bronx, which tells you a lot about how much I love living on Long Island. But I do live in a beautiful, I know probably nobody believes that there is such a thing as a beautiful part of the Bronx, but I do.
Oh, there is.
In a really beautiful part of the Bronx. I have a view of the Hudson River. I have gardens near me. So all of that has also inspired this book, my surroundings here. I have more gardens and woods around me here than I have where I grew up on Long Island.
Wow. Yeah, because there are some very beautiful part of the Bronx.
Yeah.
I used to live in one of those sections back in the day. So how do you handle criticism?
In stride. Mm-hmm. I take it all constructively. I am, I don't know how to say it, but I've been around a while. And I dole out a lot of criticism. I am a teacher, I'm a professor of graphic design, so my job is giving criticism. And if I can't take criticism, why should anybody listen to me? And there's many kinds of criticism. There's criticism that's meant to be helpful, that's meant to help. And that's the kind of criticism I will usually do. And if I feel I can't help somebody, I'm just like, out of here. Like, very nice, have a good day. Oh, that's wonderful. Like, if I tell you something is wonderful and I don't say anything, that's not a good sign. If I start picking it apart, it means that I see something good there. So I live for that. I mean, this is, to be a writer, that is how it is. You cannot write anything without somebody picking it apart and you reworking it. It's the process of creativity. And anybody who doesn't understand that is never going to improve in their craft. So it's part of the game. And it's so much part of my life as a designer. You know, I tell my students all the time, well, if you're going to do something and you're just going to say, well, this is it, and I'm not going to make any changes, well, then just get out of this business now. Because no matter how successful you are, you always have somebody that you have to accommodate, please. Everything is collaborative. Writing is not like an individual thing.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Very isolating because it's just you that can put pen to paper, but there's so much, you always talk about kids, it like takes a village and all that. Well, writing kind of does take a village. And I, just for other people, because I've been saying it during the day, is I had gotten worried when I beta read the companion novel because it's kind of like the red pen, as a teacher, because as we're going through, because, I pick out, and I know that I pick out.
Are you a teacher?
People may not. No. No. God, no. But like I'm saying when I was in college, you get the right for everything. Of picking things out. And I know sometimes people want to beta read something, but they don't actually know what a beta reader is. So they just like, oh, it was great. It's like, well, that's not the point. The whole point is you want to do it because you know that it can be better. So it might be a continuity thing. It might be a question that you may know the answer to, because somebody had said, well, the answer to it, like if they read the other one, and I said, but you can't guarantee that they read the other one, even though we want them to read the other one first. You don't know that. So this needs to be this, or, something about the foster care system, because that's what I was a social worker and worked for CPS. So like, though you bring your life.
Yeah, you picked up on some very significant details, and they were like almost like copy editing kinds of details that really.
That's what I like, is the copy editing.
Right. And that it's all useful. When you have different people read for you, and like you said, there's nothing I hate more than when somebody reads something and like, oh, it was good, I liked it. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
great, how nice for you. I want to know what you thought. I don't know if Angela's on here, but she was there with Emily's. But Angela, a lot of my writer friends, we read for each other, and Angela picked up on. Angela does this for us. She's kind of like they call me the plot fairy, but Angela's like the theme fairy or something. She just like notices these deep, sweeping things. And Angela's the person who said to me, why don't you make these kids into the environmental stuff? That wasn't in the book,
Oh, wow.
It was not in the original book. She was just a science girl, and he had other reasons for going back there. So that was her commentary, her suggestion. So everybody who reads with the intention of making something better, or wanting to help, ends up contributing something.
Which is awesome. And that doesn't mean, even if you pick something apart, there was times where you wrote, no, I'm going to keep this as it is, because there's thing of it. Well, yeah, and there's the author license of where they were going, because every person is not, you can't
listen to everybody.
Exactly. And you can't make everything perfect for every one person, because there were certain things that I'm trying to remember. There was one line I read, and I'm reading it, and something's just not sitting right with me. So I went and I actually showed it to my mother, who lives in our house, who has her degree in English, and she ended up a guidance counselor, but she started out as an English teacher. So that's why I showed it to, and she reads it and she goes, "What's wrong with it? Like, there's nothing wrong with it." And I'm like,
it's like I read things myself that I wrote. I'm like, doesn't make any sense. Does that make sense? I'll read it again and go, oh yeah, it does make sense. I just want to.
It was hitting wrong.
I want to talk about. Do you want? But you know what? Do you want to talk about my background? Because my background is different than.
I'd love to know your background.
Yeah, it's really different than. I unfortunately, I'm really under the gun with with the edits for Secret. So I spent time. I listened to all of Emily's and Christie's, and I enjoyed it very much. But I just was popping in here and there during the day, so I wasn't I got caught the tail end of the person who preceded me, and she was really interesting, and she made me feel FOMO about her special editions and her boxes. I'm like, oh my God, maybe one of these days. But anyway, my background is unusual, I think, or maybe not. I mean, you've already said that I'm an artist and I design all my own covers, which is true. And I teach graphic design, but I didn't start out my life as a graphic designer. I intended to become an illustrator. So I went to college and got a BFA in illustration, and that was my passion. And then when I got out into the real world, I'm like, I can't make a living at this. Come on, I'm not that good. You have to be really good and really like consistent. And I was slow. I couldn't find a style. So I started to get into design, and I got into the computers, and I was like, hey, this is a good way to make a living. I'm not like madly in love with it, but I'm good at it. So I'm going to make my living like this, And so I put aside the whole dream of being an illustrator, and I used to dabble in writing. I would just write little comics or write little weird stories, and then it's really strange how this happened. Life is weird. So I eventually, because I kind of got in the front door with the computers, I ended up getting this position as a graphic design professor. And so, it's a public university. It's City University of New York, and it's Bronx Community College. And they have professional staff. They have grants that they offer for, faculty development, especially when you're new faculty. So I'm like, you're going to really laugh at this. I'm like, I need a laptop. I said, I need a new laptop. I think I want to write a grant. Something that could get me a laptop. I'm going to illustrate a children's book. I'm going to get a grant to illustrate a child. Yeah, I'm finally going to do it. Okay? So I did this. This was a while back. This was like 2004. It was after 9/11, and I had spent the last 4 years reading Harry Potter to my kid at night with a really bad British accent. And I'm reading Harry Potter, and I'm like so into it, right? And somehow it soothed me with the 9/11 stuff. It was like, wow, this is a book for kids, but it's dark. It has darkness in it. It has real people problems in it. It's not sweet, really. It's about danger and people overcoming terrible things. And I thought, well, this is a really good thing for my kids to read, because we all just lived through 9/11 here in New York. And it was a rough time, And so, so I do this grant, and I do all these illustrations, and I get the grant, right? So I'm like, okay, now I got to write the story. Like an afterthought, Corinne, a total afterthought, right? I'm like, wow, I'll come up with something. So I start writing on these index cards, and it was like something attacked my brain, like some kind of brain virus, and I haven't stopped since. And I feel, I eventually finished the illustrations. I kind of like fulfilled my obligation. I was like, I tossed them aside. I'm like, I'm not writing an illustrated book. I'm writing YA.
Okay.
I was like, I didn't know anything. I like literally didn't know anything. So I filled up like spiral notebooks, and I read that to my kid. My book. Okay, so mind you, that book was horrible. I could be blackmailed, but it was so bad. And I was so secretive about it. I wouldn't tell anybody. I was like, my husband's like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? Why aren't you doing art? Like, you're an artist. What are you doing? And like my best friend says to me one day, she goes, this was like 2 years later. She goes, you're very strange. You don't ever want to talk to me. Like, you're just so evasive. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I have a secret. She goes, what? What's wrong? I go, I've been writing. It was like my dark secret. I was embarrassed. Okay, I was embarrassed because I'm like, you're not a writer, Lisa. You're an artist. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. And I did not know what I was doing. I like literally had no idea, and it was horrible what I wrote. So I joined this online critique group back in 2005. This was before Facebook, before social media. There was just Yahoo. And I found this group on there, and we would critique each other's stuff. And one of the people in it, I'm still kind of friendly with. She's theoretically in our writer group, but she's sort of drifted. But that's how we met Angela. A lot of those people went on to become fairly well known, you know, and I ended up in 3 years. I got an agent, and I got a book deal, and that wasn't, and that was this book, which this is the first book I indie published in 2022, but it was originally put out by my publisher, and I got the rights back. So at that point, by 2008, I was like, you know, I actually might be a writer. That's my background.
See a lot of, hi Jacqueline, how are you? I'm glad to show people are popping in from work. A lot of people were at work and now they're coming home from work. That's really cool though, because people come to writing in all different ways. And some people like wrote as a kid. Like when I had first started writing, and again, I never set out to like write anything or whatnot. We went through a thing. Again, it was because of kids, where my stepdaughter, the time, she wasn't finding anything that she wanted to read at the time. So I just started writing a story that I thought that she would want to read.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
And I never finished it, which I don't think she ever forgave me for that, because she's like, I need to know what happens. And then sometimes I get back to it, and then I was like, no, but I have so many things in my head. I can't keep them. Like, I want to do so many things that I get like overwhelmed. But I was never like, when I was really young, I wrote books because you had to, like in school, we had to write a story and we bound the book, and I still have them. A little bit easy.
Did you like to read a lot as a kid? Were you a big reader?
I loved to be read too, but I did not enjoy reading as much. But the reason was because I actually had a learning disability that I did not know. That was not, it was a visual processing issue that we did not, and it's called Erland syndrome. Until we didn't discover it until junior year of high school.
Oh my.
Once I went to St. Anthony's High School on Long Island, South Huntington, very competitive, whole nine yards.
Oh, so it was a parochial school?
Parochial, yes. So, but it's a private parochial, not like associated.
Right.
So when senior came along, now I know, and now we was able to compensate for it. My grades went up, like everything, whatever. So then it was actually going into that when I started liking reading, was actually going into freshman year of high school, because I had to read Hobbit, was on our reading list going into 8th grade. And then I started reading other books, Babysitter Club, Legal, and then I couldn't stop reading. And then it just kind of took off from there. But I was never a person that sat there writing stories or anything like that. So it's interesting. And I like the copy type editing. I like finding those details, and because that's the stuff that I pick up on in books, to be like, this does not work. This is a continuity issue, whatever it might be. One thing that bothers me the most about books, when they write about academia, like when they're talking about like seniors in high school, and they're talking about like the college process, and here it is May, and they haven't even applied to college yet.
Right.
If they say, hey, I missed all the deadlines and I'm going to put admission, fine. At least make it make sense. Don't talk about that you don't even know where you're going and you need to go.
That's totally not convincing.
Bonkers. So anyway, so that's why I focus in on.
You won't find that mistake in my book, even though I got like the names of the grants wrong.
Exactly. It wasn't. That's why I focus in on those things about details, because my brain is just filled with useless information.
Well, I think
I appreciate hearing the story of where you came from and all that. So now, over time, have you gotten to a specific writing process that, like, do you need silence? Do you like music? Do you like to be in the? I mean, it's very hard for silence when you live in the borough of New York.
I get silence. My kids are all grown up.
But I mean, like, you have the.
No, I'm not like out on the street.
You don't even hear the sirens anymore, I'm sure. Passing.
There aren't that many here, in this area.
A little bit different. So what
Yeah.
do you like when you write? What is your preference for?
Unlike Emily, who likes music, I need silence.
Okay.
I'm very distractible. I'm probably like a person with undiagnosed ADHD. I'm a little hyper, and I think my attention. Yeah, I'm very like hyper focused. I could really hyper focus. Like when I'm doing something, I will do it until like I won't even go to the bathroom. I'm just like, ugh, But like if there's something that's distracting, it's not good for me. Like I would never really be comfortable writing in public. So basically, I am a button chair, get your button chair kind of person. So because I'm not like actually an organized person, really, I'm kind of a scattered person. I have to force routines into my life, which make me, happy. So I usually have a morning, like right now, all these routines are out the window because I'm writing every single second when I'm not doing something else, which is not the way I usually operate. But I usually will get up early. In my old age, I've become more of a morning person. I used to write late at night, but I just find my brain goes dead. So I like to get up really early before the emails start, before the texts start, before, any responsibility comes in to my life. I try to get up at like 6:30. I try. I'm not always successful. Sometimes I get up at 6. I like to sit there and I like to write at least every day for at least an hour and a half, if I can. Some days it's more. And then I like to stop and do yoga. And then, if I'm off that day, I'll just write some more or I'll just go about my day. So basically, and sometimes I'll write at night, but it's like that morning writing, I've gotten myself so acclimated to it that it's every morning I have to write. Like, not going to go on social media, not going to do anything, just going to sit down and either edit something. And if I don't have anything I'm writing or reading, then I'll want to beta read somebody else's stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my routine.
So how do your, because obviously your students know that you write.
Yeah.
So how do they respond to it? Do any of them read your stuff or?
Yeah, occasionally, a couple here and there. One student many years ago wanted to redesign my cover for me just for fun.
Yeah.
But and like they've bought my books. I have to be careful about that. Like I don't want to hawk my stuff. I teach to an under served population, so it's not like they got like lots of money hanging around. Even if my ebook is like $1, I still feel like funny. So I keep the book and I have a poster.
Yep.
Here, let me show you something. Oh, 1 second.
As you're finding that, Jacqueline, she actually, she's the one book that, well, there's 2 books out, but one's a novella, is this An Island Strange and Wild, which she is actually looking right now for ARC readers, if you're interested.
Yes, I am looking for ARC readers. You would get all 3 books. You probably would not have time to read the prequel. You could read that after, but you would get all 3 books. And like obviously the book's coming out the 12th, so, if you could get it done by then, great, but, whenever. So this poster here, you have this, right? I sent this to you. You got this, right?
Yep.
I had this commission by my former student, Christian Santiago, who actually teaches in our program now. Oh. So I had this commission by him. So I have this on my office door at my job, and I keep my book in there. But my students are like, all the professors do really cool things there.
Yes.
I work with this woman who like has art exhibitions all over the freaking world. It's like I'm not that impressive compared to my colleagues. They're all impressive. So they're like, yeah, you write books, good for you. She knows that. It's like nobody's had fazed by it. Like it's New York. It's like everybody does something. And so that's the thing about living here. It's like nobody thinks it's any big deal. Like the writer community here is terrible because it's like the publishing business is here. That's the writing community. So I'm kind of like, don't want to be in it, kind of found my own thing. So, so I share it with them. I tend to do it more as like a professional development thing. I show them my covers and I go, well, what do you think of this? You want to critique me? Yeah. Of course they're too scared, but
I get a backbone.
Yeah, but I show it to them so they know, oh, look, your teacher isn't a complete bozo. She has something to offer, you know. So when I start picking you apart, at least you can see I kind of know what I'm talking about. So in that basis, I mean, one thing I will tell you is that this is interesting. I actually taught a course that we haven't been running. It used to be required, but it's now an elective, so it hasn't been filling up. But it was a course called publication design. But what I turned it into was almost like a book, like the students wrote their own books. So it was really great. It was like they were really writing little graphic novels. But what was in, let me see if I have the thing. I don't know if I have it. I can't. I have a copy of this thing that we did. We actually published something during the pandemic um, of their work. But what I found out from my students is that I would say almost a third of them or more are like to write stuff.
Oh, wow.
And the ones who don't like to write stuff all have a story in them.
Yeah.
So I found out that every student that had came my way had a story in them. And I had so much fun getting them to figure these stories out, and the stuff that they came up with was incredible. So I have this way of looking at writers and thinking, okay, you have a story in you and you have the discipline to get it out, but everybody has one in them.
Absolutely. And there might be different mediums to get it out. Doesn't have to
Right.
be
It doesn't have to be you writing it.
and
But
all.
I'll tell you a story about a student of mine who he was just about to graduate, right? And he in that class he did the most incredible thing. He worked with this other guy who was really like wasn't keeping up his end. So he ended up doing everything. So he made up this whole story about like it was like a game board and it had to do with like death, and I forget what it was all about exactly, but it was very elaborate. And he made the game board and it was really incredible. And so, he comes to me after the semester's over. He goes, so professor, I have one course left to take to graduate, and I'm really scared to take it. And I'm like, well, what is it? He goes, it's my English class. It's like the second English class. I'm like, you're afraid to take an English class? You just got an A+ in my book design class. You wrote a whole story. Well, that was not English. I said, what do you think English is?
Yeah.
What do you think writing is? So he looks at me, he's like, oh, guess what he got in that class?
An A.
An A-.
Nice. See?
Yeah.
Sometimes they just need the encouragement, which is
Or just the understanding that there's not something that they're missing, that they have it all there.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, well, it's great to inspire, know how you inspire people, which is great. Now, one last question, and then we'll wrap up, and then I will connect
So
you.
you're ready to go off to relax a little bit.
Yep, I'll connect you with Jacqueline because she said that she would love to read it. So,
Oh, fantastic. That's so great. I'm so happy. Thank you. I would love to send you the books.
You can go, if you go to her page, she'll have like the links because she does have a little thing you can fill out if you want to do it
Yeah,
that
I
way.
would have to send it because the only place you could find it where it's hanging out is in our Facebook group. But listen, if anybody who wants to read it and likes it and wants to join the art street team that Corinne is in, we're going to gear up soon and hopefully get out there and have some fun and, do all the fun things that we do. So if you like it and you want to join in with, the Wild Islanders, as we call ourselves, you can join us too. You said you wanted to ask another question?
Is any of the characters in the book inspired by anybody that you know in real life? Obviously loosely, loosely, but
I'm kind of, it was funny, I was listening to Christy and Emily, and it's kind of like they just kind of get born, like Christy was saying, I don't know, they just have a name and they're born. They kind of just, they just become, So not Rosalie, she's just Rosalie, she just became, I mean, most of them are just, they just showed up. Especially Liam. Liam is just like the conjuring of all my,
Yeah.
little, you know, my imagination. He's everybody's book boyfriend. Your tragic, wonderful book boyfriend. So he's like my book boyfriend. And Rosalie is just somebody I guess I just like the fact that she's like a skeptic who gets like who just gets her world turned upside down. And I think in a way I want to be Rosalie. I want my world to turn upside down. I'm a person who's been waiting for magic to happen to me. And then I realize it's not, so I'm just gonna have to invent it. But as a little kid, I was like looking for that secret garden. I was hoping it was there. I would sit in trees. So I guess the only one, I guess Evan is me in a way. He's the artist. I mean, I'm much healthier than Evan, but he's like the little bit of me in there. He's the arty guy. He's a painter. He's the artist. And then the really most significant one, he's not based on any body I know, but he is like the embodiment of all the people that puzzle me in this world. The people who are just rotten and evil for no reason, who think they're great. That would be Randy. So he's like, I like having villains because it gets me to just, I try to understand that kind of evil, like I still can't. But by writing them somehow, it's almost like I'm still that little kid playing with my dolls where I just, let the bad guys lose. I let the good guys win, the good and evil. So he is like all the shitty sorry, TikTok. all the men or whoever. I've had women bad guys too. All the people who ever gaslighted any of us, and tried to make us think that they're the righteous ones and you're, just his manipulations and how he plays head games and makes her think she should be joining him because he's the one who's right. He's just an amalgam,
Absolutely.
but he's not a particular person. So yeah, there's like actually nobody who's like a real person. And even in the new book, there's a whole bunch of characters that I just made up out of my, just invented with crazy names. I'll tell you one.
Yep, I would love to hear.
His name is Bester. And he is like a massive, he's from like Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
Right? But he likes to wear pink lipstick and put flowers in his hair.
Okay.
But he's a computer geek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Computer geek. Okay. Hey, comes in all shapes and sizes. That's
He just appeared one day. He just like walked into my brain and said, "Hi, hey, how you doing?"
I love it how characters just appear to people who write.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's like a spillover for like a crazy mind writing. It's like if you don't get the stuff out of your brain, like you probably should be doing this because it sounds to me like you got stuff in there floating around. It's like the spillover in your tub, right? Where it just spills over. You just kind of get the spillover out. Angela's telling me I'm so funny. I just can't help myself. And Christy, I gotta say something to her. She says I'm a flirt. I'm not a flirt. I am just super friendly and I talk to everybody the same way. I can't help myself. And I think everybody's my kid. Like every guy, I'm like, oh, you're my son. Can I protect you and take care of you? I'm not flirting.
Lisa, it's a New York thing. Come on.
Yeah, it's a New York thing. See, she gets it. She gets it. We just talk.
Yeah, we get that. It's funny because when I
no filter.
go back to visit Long Island or see family and stuff like that.
Oh, you said it, Long Island.
Yeah, I try not to.
Long Island.
But when I do go back to Long Island, I'm around all these people I grew up with. My first impression is, did they sound like this the whole time I was growing up? Or did I sound like this? And then you get right back in. But my husband says the only time.
Did my mother tell you what I said?
Yeah. Well, my husband says the only time he hears the New York is when I get angry. And then all of a sudden, there it is. And I'm like, I can't even stay angry because you're making fun of me.
Oh, my God. Corinne, when I went to college, and I'm going to date myself here because the first person I met at college is an actress who's very well known, and you're going to know how old I am when I tell you who I met. Trying to hide my age. Ever hear of Holly Hunter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the first person I met when I went to college. So if you look up her age on Wikipedia, you know how old I am.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get
you're in my husband's age range, but you don't look it, so you're all good.
you don't act it. That's the main thing. So I get off of the bus. There was a freshman orientation, like it was like a sleepaway camp, and I get off of the bus, and there's this person standing there, and I'm not big. I'm a shrimp, but she was like up to here on me, but she had hair like Cousin It, like down to her ankles practically, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Holly Hunter. I'm from Georgia," and I go, "Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm from Long Island." And the entire time I went to college in Pittsburgh, that is all I heard. "You're from Long Island." So I really learned how to say that. Long Island. I got so tired of getting mocked.
Yep.
But I grew up thinking that's how you say it, Long Island.
Exactly.
Right?
Just
Long
exactly.
Island.
Say it growing up. I haven't used it in a long time because I grew up there. I've lived here longer now, but when growing up there, we always came here on vacation, and I wanted to move to the Cape so badly growing up.
Move.
So I had
Always.
a very different accent growing up. But
Yes.
for some words.
Well, you've done a good job of deleting it.
Yes, I definitely, and I don't think about it.
I've worked at it.
But I was always doing acting. Like from a kid, I did acting. So you want a blank accent.
You're aware of your, speech patterns. You become very aware. So, yeah. Well,
thank you so much for visiting for me for this hour.
So much fun. It went so fast. I feel like we're just hanging out here together, you and me. Like I don't even know people are watching.
No.
Is anybody watching?
Yes, they are. They have been coming in and out the whole time. And
They're going to come in for last licks.
So,
see my scarf? Does it look like it goes with my book?
It does. You are all put together, which is awesome.
Well,
I
just want to point out about your graphic that I made for you.
Yes.
I'm very proud of because
book garden.
It's a book. It's her book garden.
I love
it. And it matches her color scheme because she had this like sort of cozy, sort of almost like a poncho blankie, which was so cool. I love that thing.
I wear it to bed every night.
Yeah.
Sleep so much.
I just got inspired by that and made the color scheme, and then I just thought, well, hey, gardens, books, whatever.
I appreciate you making that. That was so awesome.
I felt really good doing it for you. I just thought, God, you're really going out of your way here. 12 hours. This was amazing. You are just amazing. I feel like we really got to hang out and know each other a little bit all day here. And hey, you should come down to Literary Love Savannah in July because we are going, me and Christy and Emily and Marie Lestrange, who's kind of popped in here for a minute. We're going, and so is Amanda Curry.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And so is, I think, Tiffany Murphy's going to come.
That's awesome. Well, we'll talk about it more.
Yeah, you should come. We'll have a whole cabal.
I definitely like retreaty type of things of hanging out.
It's really not a retreat. It's like madness.
But I mean, like hanging out with like.
Right, and it's it's a readers conference. It's meant for readers. It's got parties. You should look it up. It's like, I mean, I have so much to do for it. There's so much swag I have to make that I haven't even been thinking about. But it's like
going to be again?
Literary Love Savannah. You could still sign up. I mean, it's not till July, but they've been. I mean, hopefully they still have rooms left because it's very popular.
All right, I googled
but
it.
It's pretty reasonable, when it comes right down to it for what you get. It's like 4 days.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my birthday present to myself because my birthday is in July.
Yeah, well, that would be so great. We could all hang out. It'd be really fun. Okay. All right. Well, I thank you so much for having me. And just let me know who is interested in the ARC.
Absolutely. And we have Jacqueline and come over to your thing so they can get the book and get reading because hopefully by tomorrow, if she finishes editing, we will be getting
I will. I swear. That's what I do. That A student in there, that Rosalie the A student, I am that. I wasn't good in math and science, but I am an A student.
That's it doesn't matter to me. I read books really fast. I will read it in the day. So
That I don't know how you do that, but
so I think so
those
much.
those books you read in November, that was astounding.
Yeah, well, I just finished my 368th for the year. So
No wonder there's a lot of things in your brain.
yeah, there's a lot of things. I need to take a step back, and that's in between doing a lot of work during the day. Like people's like, is that all you do is read all day? I'm like,
you have kids. You have two kids, right?
I have one child, and
he has special needs, right?
Yeah, he's autistic, but he is great. He is my light.
Yeah. And you work too? You have a day job?
No, I work from the home. My husband works for himself, so I do the books for that.
Well, that's work.
Yes, I do a lot of volunteering at the school. I do a lot of autism education at the school. So I do a big project every year. That last year it was about 300 hours in total that it took me, but everything came out great. We do
amazing
big project, but I also, what I was just doing is I direct community theater productions. So.
Oh, that is so great. That's my dark secret desire. Like, I am a frustrated performer who has no talent at all. So that's why I'm so like the way I am, because it's like I'm a frustrated, non-talented actor. And if you ask Emily, I have sang to her very badly because she had a plot problem, and I'm like, Emily. So I sang Cup of Poison from Jesus Christ Superstar to her. I remember it so well. I was sitting in the park. I'm like, I will drink this cup of poison. I'm like singing it to her. And I'm like, nobody should have to be put through this.
Well, thank you so much. And we will talk soon. Go finish editing.
Bye. Thank you. How do I get out of here?
Good night.